Guess what? The reason that fat won't move isn't because you need more willpower. Most men over 40 don't have a fat problem. They have a poor sales manager. In business, if revenue isn't converting, you don't just shout at the team. Guess what? You fix the manager. Today we talk about hormone that does this in your body. It regulates how energy, your revenue, gets converted. If it's mismanaged, your body conserves instead of spends, and that's when it holds on to fat. Welcome to Longevity Masters. I'm your host, Grant Hutchby, and this show exists to help entrepreneurs reverse their biological age and take control of the asset that matters most: time. Your body needs to be treated with the same attention, structure, and planning as your business. The difference is simple. You can start multiple businesses or have multiple businesses, but you only ever get one body. And we are building the world's first biological time machine designed specifically for male entrepreneurs to turn back time and add more years to their life, more importantly, more life to those years. The mission is simple: to claim back 10,000 years of optimal life. And today we're diving into the hormone thyroid and how it affects your body, your business, and your ability to turn back time. Let's dive in. So my story with thyroid, I guess, is an interesting one because most people don't think about thyroid when they think weight loss, energy management. You just don't think about it. Or maybe you think it's something to do with something else, or not to do with men, it's only for women. But absolutely, thyroid plays a massive part. And I guess the confusing thing for me over the years was whenever I wasn't shedding the fat, whenever I was training really hard or felt like I was eating really well, things weren't coming off. And I made a discovery, and I didn't realize that it was me managing my thyroid at the time. But what I did was I reduced down the amount that I was training and changed the focus of how I was training and what I was doing with it. So let me explain what I did. So I would consistently train 5-6 days a week, and I would do the usual: train my one muscle group one day and then a different muscle group another day. And I thought that that was absolutely fine. But what I didn't realize that I was putting a lot of strain on my nervous system. And as I've explained in previous episodes, I started looking into less training, but higher intensity and more intentional. So I went down to 3 days a week, and that naturally enabled me to manage my energy levels and my recovery a hell of a lot better. And what ended up happening is I ended up getting better gains, more energy, and life throughout the day. And this made me think, right, why is less training getting me better results? And that came down to obviously the recovery, and I put it down to that. However, what I didn't realize was it was me managing my thyroid a lot better. And this then progressed into thinking about how I can structure and manage my day so that my energy is managed much more effectively. And you got to think of your energy as if it was like revenue. So energy within your body is like revenue within your business, and your body can convert fat into energy. And thyroid isn't all about fat burning, but I'm just using this as an example. So it takes its fat stores, converts it into energy, and therefore you lose fat. If your thyroid isn't managed well, your body doesn't convert fat into energy. Just like your business won't, I guess, use its resources very well to convert that into revenue. And that's why we call the thyroid hormone the sales manager, because it manages your energy within your body, just like a sales manager would manage the revenue within your business. Because I started thinking about how often I was training, when I was going to recover, exactly the type of training that I would do and optimizing it. And then also the time of when I train. I always knew that I preferred training in the morning, but actually getting a regularity with that. And instead of what I used to do, which was if I missed my training in the morning, I would go in the afternoon. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing if you miss your training, but if you're constantly doing it and thinking, oh, do you know what, I'm not going to go this morning, I'll go this afternoon. And then Monday you're going in the morning, Tuesday you're going in the afternoon, Wednesday you're going in the morning, then it's afternoon, then it's morning, then afternoon. What you'll find is your body doesn't get into this rhythm. And I talk about this a lot within my Turn Back Time machine that I run with entrepreneurs, in that a lot of people know what they need to do, or basically what they need to do, but don't necessarily know how important the timing of it is. And your body gets used to when you do stuff. And if you're constantly tricking it, it doesn't know when the appropriate time to release certain hormones are. So if you're releasing adrenaline and cortisol and all of those energy producing hormones at the wrong time, you can't get the most out of your training session. But if your body knows, right, I'm going to be training, or we're going to be training at this time every single day, I'm going to be readily prepared to release these hormones at the best possible capacity at that particular time. So you can see now how by me changing the frequency of when I train so that I could recover better, planning my training sessions so that they were intentional and I knew exactly what I was doing each session, so there was no confusion and it was optimized, and then training at the same time every day or whenever I was training, so at the same time on my training days, my body was able to regulate my energy a lot better. And that's where thyroid comes in. And I'm actually doing blood tests now, started on top of my wearables and my body scales. I'm now doing things like continuous glucose monitor and blood tests so that I can see what these levels are actually within my body. Anyways, so I'm going to be looking at my ratios of different types of thyroid to see how well I am managing my thyroid levels. And I can't highly recommend monitoring your data. And it's not about getting obsessive with your body's data. It's about looking at the trends and the levels and seeing how you can adjust your lifestyle to make things better within your body. So the major lesson that I've learned here is don't guess, just measure it, and you'll find out what you actually need over time. So I've already sort of mentioned this about how thyroid, I guess, manages your energy, but what it actually does, and I just want to be 100% clear, and I've just got some notes here to make sure that I get this right. So your thyroid essentially manages your metabolic pace. So how your metabolism works and how effective your metabolism is. And your metabolism, again, as an overall thing, there's lots of other hormones that goes into your metabolism, but your thyroid is sort of what regulates your metabolic pace. So hopefully that makes sense in as simple a way that I can put it in terms of thyroid. And hopefully the analogy of looking at thyroid as like your sales manager and conversions and how it converts the different things within your body into the energy that it needs at different times of the day. And the better timing you can get with things, the better frequency you can get with things, because there's an optimal frequency for everyone. Obviously, elite athletes can train a lot more often than the standard gym goer because they've conditioned themselves for it. But even athletes can overtrain. So it's about getting the frequency right for you so that you're still getting progression, you're still getting an increase in performance over a period of time, but you're not overtraining, so you're giving your body a chance to recover. And you're doing things in the optimal way for your body at regular times so that your body gets used to the times that you're doing it in. So things that can affect this production: stress, chronic undereating. So a few key things to watch out for to make sure that your thyroid production is as good as you possibly can. And I've touched on these already, but stress, poor sleep, chronic undereating to try and lose fat. If you're not burning fat at slightly below what your maintenance calories are, then there's something wrong with your sleep, your recovery, your training. So you should be able, as long as you know what your maintenance calories are, if you're eating slightly below that, you should be burning fat, because 500 calorie deficit on your maintenance every day for a week should lose you a pound of fat, right? That's half a kilo almost of weight that you can lose per week. So if you're definitely under your calorie maintenance, then if you're still gaining fat or just not losing it, there's got to be something wrong with the other things that you're doing with your training and recovery. So the myth buster section. Let's go through the different myths of thyroid. So you might have some preconceptions of what thyroid is. Hopefully this clears it up if I haven't cleared it up already. So myth number one is thyroid problems are obvious and extreme. That's not true. The reality is that sometimes they can go unnoticed for a long period of time. Think about it this way. If you've got a problem within your body, when you get symptoms of that problem, that's after it's developed to a state where you can see it externally. But the problem was there way beforehand. And that's what you need to realize with thyroid and lots of other different things, is there could be a problem way before you see any major symptoms. And that's why we need to be looking at our data and how we're progressing with our training, because that can be a clear sign that you're not managing your thyroid correctly. Next myth, let's have a look. So myth number two is if fat stalls cut more calories. So I've sort of touched on this already, in that chronic restriction of calories can slow your metabolic pace. That's like when you go into starvation mode. So if you reduce your calories by a lot and you starve yourself, what your metabolism does is it says, right, I need to adjust myself so that the body can function on less calories. And then when you start eating more, your body is used to running with less calories, so it puts on weight very quickly. Which is why when you want to lose weight, you don't need to cut your calories very much, because if you cut your calories too much, your energy production goes low, and that's where you need to essentially manage it effectively. And that's what the thyroid is all about. Your thyroid is all about effective management. So if you are effectively managing your energy intake and your energy exertion, so you're not chronically undereating and you're not chronically overtraining and you're getting a good balance, that should regulate your thyroid hormone well. So myth number three is if energy is low, train harder. That sounds stupid anyways, but sometimes people think, oh, do you know what? My energy's low. I need to get to the gym and train. However, it might be the fact that you're under recovered. So sometimes taking a week off from the gym can be a good thing. Yes, you need to train, you need to be regular with your exercise. However, if you're feeling like you haven't got the energy for something, fix your recovery, fix your sleep, fix your diet, and then your energy should start coming back. Yes, exercise gives you energy, but if you're finding you're dragging your ass, then it may be the other things that you need to fix first. And exercise stress on the body can suppress your output further. So think about that. Don't just exercise more to get more energy. So here we go. Myth number 4. Myth number 4 is lower resting heart rate is always better. Now, low heart rate is important, but it can get too low. And what is more important is having a stable heart rate. The level that you want to watch out for in terms of too high or too low is you really would ideally want your resting heart rate, which is where your heart rate gets to when you're at rest and asleep, normally is when your heart rate reaches its lowest. That's where you want it between sort of 40 at the very low end and 65 at the high end. If it's somewhere in between there for most people, that's a good place to be. If you go below 40, that can sometimes highlight problems unless you're a very elite athlete, and it might be worth looking into it. If you're over 65, that means you're putting your heart under too much strain and you're potentially at risk of cardiovascular problems. So the main thing is keeping it steady. If one day it's 40, another day it's 55, another day it's 45, another day it's 60, that's a problem, because you want it within a very small range. And that's the whole point of it being stable. So it's not about having a low resting heart rate. It's about having a stable, consistent resting heart rate that's sort of between that 40 and 65. So myth number 5 is thyroid only really affects women. Obviously, that is untrue. Men have thyroid as well, and it absolutely regulates your metabolic pace. Maybe you might have heard of more women having thyroid problems. This could be because they have to manage their energy a lot better through the menstrual cycle. So that's when thyroid gets mentioned, but it is absolutely prevalent within men, and you need to manage it effectively. So I've already touched on this about thyroid being the sales manager, and the sales manager within our business hierarchy, the sales manager is in the sales department, obviously. And the sales department is acquisition. And usually the sales manager is within the acquisitions team because they're trying to generate more revenue for the business. Retention is a different thing, but sales managers are usually within the acquisitions team, and acquiring more energy is the sales manager's job. Acquiring more energy, acquiring more revenue is the sales manager's job. Just like thyroid is within the business, it needs to acquire more energy from the different things that you do with your body. So the best way that I can explain it is, and I've touched on this already, is the better you can manage each element of your life, the better your thyroid will work. And therefore, your sales manager, thyroid, will convert more energy and convert essentially more revenue. So think of it that way. Your thyroid is your sales manager, and your sales manager converts revenue just like thyroid converts energy. And remember, if conversion slows in your body and your business, everything is harder. How easy is everything within your business when the sales are coming in and revenue is flowing? You got to watch out for all the other stuff, and it's really important. But sales are like the lifeblood of the business. Just like if you don't have any leads, if you haven't got any leads, you've got nothing to convert into sales. Like we talked about in previous episodes, the marketing department, your leads being your strength and endurance training, that brings in the things to convert, but then how you manage it all will allow you to convert it in the right way. And that's what thyroid does. Thyroid, like your sales manager, converts into revenue, and it creates the lifeblood for your business, like your body. So the way that we measure thyroid within your body, and it's not a direct correlation, however, we've found that the best metric to look at is your resting heart rate. So a very clear indicator of how well you're managing your energy, managing your thyroid, is how consistent you can keep your resting heart rate and how you can lower it over time. So like I said, the most important thing is consistency, keeping it within a short range, and then over time, lowering it down, especially if you're currently over, I would say, 60 on your resting heart rate, because you're going to get close to that 65 breaking point. Certainly if you're over 65, it's something that you need to look at. Obviously, if you hit 65 one night and then it comes down regularly and you can keep it consistently over a period of time after that, that's not too much to worry about. It just means you may have had some factors that day that elevated your heart rate. So keeping your heart rate low is going to be very much on how you train, because training cardiovascularly is going to help reduce your heart rate over time. However, managing your resting heart rate comes more in the latter part of the day, where you start reducing down the amount of stimulus that you have. No ice baths within a couple of hours of bed. Try not to train really intensely a couple of hours before bed. And when you get to that sort of 3-4 hour period before you go to sleep, that's when you need to start calming down, reducing the amount of light that you get in your eyes, reducing the arguments that you have with your kids and your loved ones. All this stuff that you need to do at the end of the day will help reduce down your heart rate, so that by the time you get to go to sleep, your heart rate is virtually almost there, within a few beats per minute, virtually at what your resting heart rate is overnight. So it helps you get to sleep, and the lower you can get your heart rate before you go to bed, the better you will sleep overnight, and the more consistent your resting heart rate will be over a longer period of time. Because if you imagine, if you're going to sleep with an elevated heart rate, your resting heart rate is going to be elevated on that particular night's sleep. It won't get down as low. So this is a massive, massive thing. And if you want to manage your thyroid, manage your resting heart rate. The way that you manage your resting heart rate is by training hard cardiovascularly, so that over time it comes down. And when you get to the tail end of the day, you start doing the practices and things that you can possibly do with all of your environmental things to bring your heart rate down as low as possible before you actually go to sleep. So here we go. You've got 3 simple behaviors, if you haven't picked them out already, 3 simple behaviors to manage your thyroid a lot better. So your metabolic rate, your fat burning ability is as good as it possibly can be. So number 1, fix your sleep wake time. So if you get up at the same time every day, you'll be ready to go to sleep at the same time every night, and your heart rate will adjust itself for it. So consistency supports your metabolic rhythm. Number 2 is lift heavy at least 2 to 3 times per week. That's 25 to 40 minutes of intentional, so pre-planned, you know exactly what you're doing, and intense heavy weight sessions. And always make sure that you manage your recovery between these sessions. So I wouldn't do any more than 3 a week if they're intentional and intense. And I would leave at least 48 hours, like we talked about in the testosterone episode, at least 48 hours between heavy weight sessions. Also, make sure that you leave yourself at least 1 full rest day per week. So if you're doing that, that's going to, again, help you manage your energy levels properly over the week. And then last but not least, a great regulator for your energy is to make sure that you get a certain amount of daily movement per day. Now, this technically could be whatever you want it to be. However, I always like to manage things and measure things. So the book that rings true with me is Measure What Matters by John Doerr. And if you don't measure it, you can't manage it. So daily movement can easily be measured by your phone, by your smart devices, and I measure my steps. And again, you can do it in different ways. If you want to go for a bike ride or whatever, but the point here is daily regular movement. And you should be getting at least 8,000 steps per day, ideally 10,000 steps. So if you're one of these average people, I look on my watch, on my app on my phone, and it says that people my age and the general population do between 4,000 and 5,000 steps a day. That is mentally low. To get the real health benefits from daily movement, you need to be doing at least 8,000 steps a day. So the three things that we need to do. Number one is fix your sleep-wake time. Make it the same every single day. Don't worry about the time you go to bed for now. Just make sure that you get up at the same time every day. That will start fixing the time that you go to bed, because you'll naturally start feeling tired if you get up at the same time. Number two, train hard 2 to 3 times per week, making sure that you allow enough time to recover. And number three is get an adequate amount of daily movement, at least 8,000 steps. And that's it. They're the three things that you need to do to make sure that you manage your thyroid effectively. So last but not least, if you want to download all of our toolkit, it's absolutely free. Go on to bookresources.thecarnivoreentrepreneur.com and you put your details in, and we'll give you all of our tools and stuff that we've got, frameworks that you can use to start reversing your biological age now. And absolutely, if you think anyone else would benefit from this episode, please share it with them. And as always, like and subscribe to get all the updates and everything that is coming out over the line. Because like I said, I'm learning as well. And I just want to make sure that everything that I put out, I can give to you and you can use as much as you want. So remember, you can't build decent revenue or energy without a good sales manager or good thyroid hormone. Remember, you got to protect your energy, protect your space, and track the metric. And with thyroid, it's resting heart rate. And that's it for today. So remember, be young, be happy, and be free, people. I'll see you in the next episode.